Hey, Dr. Stanley here to talk to you about a relaxation strategy called grounding. So first let's talk about what is grounding. So sometimes the words grounding and mindfulness are used interchangeably, but they are a little bit different. And so mindfulness is being in the present moment. Grounding is what we do to help bring us to that present moment. Grounding is tied to our senses, and it helps just make us focus on the here and now. We use this when we're feeling really anxious or stressed because when we're feeling anxious, we are typically worried about something that's already happened, so we can't change it. Or we're ruminating on something that's potentially going to happen in the future, but that's not always helpful either, right? So when those ruminating thoughts are feeling out of control, we can use grounding to bring us to the here and now. I mentioned it's tied to our senses. So I'm gonna first start by talking to you about the traditional way that it's taught. So traditionally, it's taught in this 5-4-3-2-1 strategy. So I'm gonna tell you what that is, and then I'm gonna tell you why a lot of the times I tell my patients to throw that out the window and what to do instead. So traditionally, when we start with the 5, we are going to look around at 5 things that we can see. So if you are sitting in your room, just kind of look around, what are 5 things that you can see? Maybe here, what I would be doing is looking at this pillow. I would be looking that it's a shade of blue and white. Then maybe my focus would go towards this book that's here. If you have a picture on the wall, that's a great one to really think about the colors and the shapes, right? So we spend a few moments just really attending to 5 different things that we can see. Then we move on to touch. 4 things that you can touch. So I typically want to pick some things that are a little soothing. So maybe I'll start with this pillow, right? So I'm going to really focus on it, and I'm going to feel the texture, feel the softness, maybe feel the corner, and really attend to how that feels, right? And then I'm going to keep going. You know, maybe then I focus on my pants, right? And how the seam might feel, and I rub my hand on it for just a few moments. And then I go through 2 other things, so that it's 4 things total that we can touch. So far, that's probably pretty easy. You know, unless you're visually impaired, the 5 things you can see, we can do that in any kind of setting. The 4 things you can touch also usually can make that happen. But here's where it gets tricky. The 3 things that I can hear. So if I'm really quiet and I focus, you know, I hear a little street noise outside the window, but then nothing, right? Like, it's hard to really come up with 3 different things that you can hear in every kind of setting. You know, if I were on a nature walk, that might be a little easier, right? I might be able to hear a bird chirp and ruffling leaves, maybe cars in the distance, right? But sitting in kind of an office setting like this, it's really difficult. And then we move on to 2 things that we can smell. That's also a little difficult, you know, at times to really come up with 2 different things that we can smell. And then of course we end with the 1, which is 1 thing that you can taste. So traditionally, again, it's that 5-4-3-2-1 strategy. But why I said that sometimes we throw that out the window is because those senses, once we get to the 3 and the 2 and the 1, sometimes depending on our setting, that is really hard to accommodate. And what can happen is we start to do the grounding. We start with the 5 and the 4, and we're feeling good. We're bringing ourselves down. But then the panic of, oh my goodness, I need to figure out 3 things I can hear, right? And sometimes we start to get worked up again. And that's having the opposite effect. We don't want grounding to work us up. We want it to help bring us back down, right? And so if that traditional way, the 5-4-3-2-1, works for you, great, more power to you, use it, absolutely. But if that doesn't work for you, I want you to think about a few other strategies, some alternatives to that. The first one is just a 1-1-1-1-1. right? So it's a one thing for every sense across the board. That's a little bit easier than trying to find multiple for some of those senses. So that's one strategy. A second strategy is to pick your favorite sense, right? If you're someone who gets calm by the feeling of things, well, maybe that's gonna be your sense. And when you're feeling worked up and need to ground, you're gonna challenge yourself to really focus on the texture of things and the feel of things, to be able to bring yourself in that present moment. There are also sometimes some objects that kind of work as like a bonus grounding object that you can keep on you and use at times to help ground you. As an example, here in our office at Stanley Psychology, we keep these little doughs. They're stress ball doughs, right? And so if I have this in my pocket and I start to feel worked up, right, I might be able to bring it out. And the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna feel the metal tin, right? Because it's cool and there's a ridge and you can feel it. You can read it, you can see, you know, our name and some information on it, so you can really focus on the sight of it. But then you can open it up and have a stress dough to help continue the grounding, right? And so what I might do is really feel and play with this dough, really focus on the smooth texture that it has. In this case, this dough's scented. It smells like orange and vanilla, and that can feel really calming, right? And so something like this, just to keep on you, can kind of work to hit multiple senses at times. If you're ever in our office, swing by, ask for one. We're happy to give you one of these. Alternatively though, there's lots of things you can do for this. You could have a little jar of Play-Doh that would be helpful. You could have a small scented candle maybe that it's not for lighting necessarily, but for the smell and the feel of it. Or even a little bottle of lotion for the texture of the outside, the texture of the lotion, the smell of it. You know, all those things can kind of be this bonus grounding item that you can have on you and use at times where you're feeling worked up. And so with these grounding strategies, what I want you to do is I want you to practice them when you are not feeling stressed, right? Because if you're trying to implement a new strategy when you're already feeling really worked up, that's really hard to do. It's really hard to even remember what to do, right? And so what I want you to do is to practice it a couple times a day when you're feeling down, you're not feeling elevated, you're feeling kind of normal at your baseline. And I want you to practice it. And you can see what works for you. Does the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 work for you? Does the 1, 1, 1, 1, 1 work for you? Do you want to have a bonus item? Do you want to have a specific sense, right? Play around with what might feel good to you. And that way, the next time you are feeling a bit elevated, a bit worked up, a bit stressed, you can try those strategies and see if it helps bring you down, bring you back down, taking that edge off to put you at a more relaxed state.